This is my recap of Marriage Boot Camp, Season 2, Episode 6, Spouse Swap. So they swap all the spouses, and we don't find out as viewers until halfway through the episode, and they don't find out till the end how they chose to pair up the couples. But I'm going to tell you now because it's easier to explain the episode if I explain it ahead of time. They paired up the couples according to the problems in their relationships. So they kind of paired people up with other people that struggle with the same issues. The idea being that they have to do these tasks, and they get to see what their spouse sees by dealing with another person. Which I kind of convoluted, but let me explain. Maylee and Mark are paired up, and they both struggle with jealousy. Gloria and Sean are paired up, and they both have a tendency to take control of a situation and then kind of not let anyone else do anything. Sophia and Thomas both have codependency issues where they let their entire relationship be controlled by their partner's emotions. Blanca and Jeff both refuse to compromise. And Tasha and Julian, unfortunately, I don't have any notes that say what their issues are. And that might have been because in this particular episode, they were all both super low-key. Now, in their respective relationships, I definitely think they're responsible for at least half of the problems. I think it's just how relationships work. But for this particular episode, they actually function together really well, which caused some problems later on. Anyway, let's get into the episode. The first kind of exercise is that you go with your new spouse and you go and you talk about what you want in a partner, what you don't want in a partner, and just kind of discuss that. Then they would spend the night together, and I'm using parentheses because they're not really, but Maylee just says no. Her issue is jealousy. She doesn't want Thomas spending time with Sophia, especially because she thinks Sophia is one of the prettiest girls. Like, it's not going to happen. So they go to bed, and that's the end of them for this evening. So that leaves Mark and Sophia without partners, so they just pair up and go ahead. Now everyone sits and talks and says, okay, we're not really sharing beds, so, which is very reasonable. Like if I was there and I had signed up for a reality show, I would definitely do the best I could to kind of buy into the whole premise, but I wouldn't let my husband share a bed with another woman, and I wouldn't share a bed with another man. Like that's just, So it looks like they all kind of like, one of them picks a bed, and I don't know where the other one goes. I don't really know how that worked. But anyway, we get through that, and the next day they're going to go camping. And all of the couples are given assignments. So, you're going to set up the tent. You're going to go buy camping equipment. You're going to go buy food. And the idea is that by working with someone who maybe has some of the same issues, you're going to see what your partner has to experience. Now, this works better with some couples than it does with others. So Mark and Maylee both have jealousy. Well, they're not going to randomly get jealous of each other. So it was more like we saw Maylee get jealous, but we really didn't see Mark. But definitely like Blanca and Jeff, just they're in the grocery store and they're just butting heads the whole time. So the real focus of this episode was Maylee and Thomas's relationship. And they fought everywhere. They fought at the side of the lake. They fought in the public bathrooms. They fought on the campgrounds. I mean, they fought all over the place because I don't know what Thomas and Sophia were doing, but at some point he skips a rock, and she's like, "Oh, I've never skipped a rock," and so he shows her how to skip a rock, and then Maylee's like, "Why don't you show me how to skip rocks?" Which I can understand. If you want your spouse's attention and they're giving that attention to someone else, you're gonna be kind of ticked. But they end up fighting all over the place. Now the counselors say that sometimes they intervene and sometimes they don't. They didn't intervene this time purposely. And Thomas said that normally at home he would be in the car and he'd be gone by now. But he can't leave. They're at this campground. So eventually they kind of come back together and they kind of sort of mend fences, but not really. Anyway, that was about the whole episode. We get to the end. They explain why you were paired up. Ask everyone, did you get it? And we see that Julian and Tasha actually did really well working together. So the attention kind of got shifted onto their partners. Now I have to say though is that they were being, I think, more gracious to each other than they normally are to their spouses. Tasha's really hard on Jeff, and she's like, "I hate you and don't talk to me." And that's kind of how Blanca is sometimes with Julia. She's like, no. So and Julian is like, I don't want to hear it. And anyway, so everyone, I don't think it's fair to judge them on just this one assignment is like, oh, clearly Julian and Tasha are just saints. I don't think that's fair. But they do give Maylee and Thomas a warning saying, if you do this again, we're going to kick you out. And that's the episode. And I am now all caught up after my vacation. So looking forward to the next episode.